Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all doing well. Today I've got a new client tutorial for you all, so I hope you enjoy. I'm first starting off with her brows and I'm using the Anastasia dip brow in the shade Taupe. And then I'm carving out her brows with the Tarte Shape Tape Concealer. I'm also using that same concealer to prime the lids for eyeshadow. And then I'm blending out and buffing in that concealer with a small kabuki brush. This one is from Real Techniques. And then I'm lightly setting her lids with any translucent powder or powder I have on me. And then I'm starting off with a transition color. This one is from a Zoeva palette. It's called the Caramel Malange palette. All the palettes I've used or I will be using in this video will be listed in the description box as well. So I'm just taking that transition color and really focusing that on the crease. I'm blending it as much as possible. Just keep blending and blending and blending until your arms drop. Literally. Well, not literally, but until you are happy with the result. And I am using a Zoeva brush as well. I'll also be linking that below, the brush set that I'll be using today. It's really important to blend out that first transition shade so that the rest of the shadows blend just as well. And I've really focused on the blending part in this video. I've kept a lot of footage in here just to show how long that the process really takes, just to show that it's not just a 1 minute video where it automatically blends for me. It does take a long time for me as well. I'm then using a darker brown shadow, and I believe this one is from a Hudabeauty palette, the Desert Dusk one. I'll also link that below. I'm just using that deep shade with a small defined brush, not the same brush, just a slightly smaller one, just to really get into the crease and define it. And then I'm moving on to the cut crease. This is the most important part about this video. What I do is I put some concealer on both lids and then I get the client to look up, so then it carves out where the cut crease is supposed to be. And then I start using tapping motions, not so much swiping motions. I just want to be very careful and I want to tap and basically carve out where I want the cut crease to be. You really need to take your time with this step because you want to perfect it, you don't want to rush it. And then you start to fill in all the gaps that don't have concealer, and look up again just to double check. And then I take a very small kabuki brush just to blend it inwards. Sometimes I blend inwards when I think I've gone too far, and sometimes I blend outwards when I want to bring the shadow a bit further, the concealer a bit further. And I'm just using the same process and doing the same steps on the other side. Just stamp it on, and carve it out before you fill it in. I really wanted to include almost a real life footage of this process because I do know that people have been asking for an in-depth tutorial on the eyes. I'm just blending that out again with the same kabuki brush. It's a very dense brush. And I'm using that same brush again to pack on the lid shade. The lid shade, I believe, is a gold shade from the Desert Dusk palette. I prefer to use shimmers just because they're less dramatic and they're just pretty and just enough. I'm just packing it on there on the wet concealer so it really stands out. And then I'm using the same dark brown, the darkest brown I used, and I'm just blending wherever I feel like there's a harsh line between the shimmer shade and the matte shade. Now moving on to wing liner. What I do is I get my clients to look down and then I trace where I want the wing liner and I make sure it's not too far up or too far down. So the reason why I have them looking down is just so that sometimes when you do the wing liner with your eyes closed and you open it, it's usually in the wrong place or you've got hooded eyes and it just creases everywhere. I'm just connecting the wing liner all the way to the inner corner. And for that I'm using the Inglot gel liner. And then I'm taking some Modelrock lashes. I'm not sure what the style is, that's why I showed it here in the video. Just popping on some mascara before the lashes. So with lash application, what I do is I pop the lash on the center and then I work my way from side to side, so from outer corner to inner corner. Now moving on to the face, I'm priming her face with the Fenty primer, which is my all-time favorite primer ever. Fentybeauty, sponsor me. So moving on with foundation, I'm also using a Fentybeauty foundation mixed in with a Loreal True Match, and I'm just taking that on a Zoeva kabuki brush and applying it everywhere. I am going all out with the foundation, full coverage, because that's what we want today. Full coverage, nothing every day, nothing soft. We're going full coverage. I know people get really scared when I apply the foundation, but it will all blend in, trust me. And then I'm using the beauty blender. This is a beauty blender from Dirty 30s. I'm just using that to blend in that foundation and just to make it look smooth and beautiful. Now I'm using the same Tarte Shape Tape concealer. I believe this shade is light neutral, and I'm just drawing triangles under her eyes because isn't that what everyone does on Instagram? And just having that concealer on the cupid's bow, chin, forehead and nose. I'm taking the beauty blender, the mini one. Look at her laugh at me. Brogan. So I'm using that mini beauty blender just to blend out the concealer because I can really get in that inner corner with this mini one. It's from the same company, 3030s. So I'm just blending out that concealer and I'm trying not to move the concealer everywhere, just where I've placed it, just to get that very defined look. Now what I'm doing here is a new step for most people. I take this mini beauty blender and I like stamp it into my pressed powder, and I just set under the eyes and where I place the concealer with the light shade, and then afterwards I go in with a darker shade around the face to set. So instead of baking, I just press in that powder. Now I'm setting the face with a pressed powder from Australis, the Fresh and Flawless one. I believe this shade is a medium tan shade. Now to bring some colour back into the face, I'm using the Hoola bronzer with this e.l.f. bronzing brush. I'm just contouring slash bronzing with this bronzer and this brush. I use this brush to contour and bronze and blush as well, just so everything blends in really nice and seamless. So what I do is I take it right up into the temples and right up to the hairline, just so it's very seamless and it's not just one straight line. I usually go up and down at the start, and then I use circular motions at the end to blend it all out. I am taking a bigger brush just to blend everything all together. Moving on to the bottom lash line, I am using the same shades I used on the top and just blending it through her bottom lash line. I'm using the lighter shade with this bigger brush, and then I'm going to go in with a more defined brush with a darker shade. Smoking out the bottom lash line makes a very big difference. It just brings out the eyes. And now I'm highlighting the brow bone, because highlighter is my favorite thing in the world, and you can never have too much highlighter. You'll see what I mean later. Now I'm using the Anastasia brush, the A23 brush with the Becca highlighter in the shade Champagne Pop. Watch her reaction to this highlighter. Same girl, same. Now I'm just applying some mascara to the bottom lashes. And for lips, I'm using a Maybelline matte ink lipstick. It's a nude shade that I'll be listing down below. Now I'm highlighting her collarbones, and I told you all that we can never have too much highlight. Thank you all for watching. Leave a comment down below and tell me what you loved the most about this video.